Stranieri Zafferani, and from the name, which is very Italian, you can tell where I come from. I have, although lived in various parts of the world, so I do feel more like an international citizen than just solely Italian. At the moment, I'm a senior product manager at Philips Domestic Appliances. So specifically, I'm focusing on kitchen products and all the world that is behind cooking, eating, food preparation. So yeah, pretty lucky, I would say, to be able to experience that. I have about almost 10 years experience now. I started off as an intern in Philips, and I did something completely different. So I was doing like strategy, new business development. But then I was in a talent program that you rotated different roles. So I then went into marketing. So I was doing more consumer marketing campaigns, launches of new products, specifically in the UK market. And then after that, I actually decided to leave corporate life to try out startup life. And I was the marketing and comms manager for a tech startup, a green tech startup that had an innovative technology to recycle plastic. So I did that for about 3 years, and then I decided that I wanted to go back to consumer products and to something closer to the innovation and the actual creation of the product. And that's how I went back into Philips as a product manager.
I think this is wonderful, and it's such a great learning experience because it shows how you started off as an intern in a company. You grew there, you learned what you want, tried out different things, and then you said, "I want to start up." And then you tried out. You are learning what you like and what you don't like. And at the end of the day, you made the choice based on experience that no, I want to be in corporate and I want to be with Philips. And that is something that like really resonates with a lot of our mentees who think that they're lost and they wonder how can they find a job.
Yeah. No, so
So
I think sorry, just to add to that, I think it's always important to follow your heart and to follow what you like feel, even in work. So if you feel that you need to explore, that you need to find and try something new, go for it. That's always what I've done.
definitely. And looking now at this experience in particular, where you started and where you are now, what can you say your the milestones that you're proud of the most are?
Well, I think I'm very proud of like stepping out of my comfort zone. So trying new positions, new companies, new markets. I think it's really always important to be able to do that because if you get stuck in one reality for too long, you're kind of killing your sense of adventure, but also your ability to like start from new fast in a fast way. I'm was so proud of one of my product launches in the UK back in 2016, which was Philips One Blade, a very cool razor for men. So that was a super exciting campaign where we had a video really go viral overnight. So it was exciting to wake up to that. And today, instead, even though I'm more into food, which is great for me because I'm a big foodie. We launched a new product in September, which is a kitchen machine, and it's so innovative because it has an app-led experience, so that anyone can be a baker. You don't have to have like years of experience to be able to, yeah, make great cakes, muffins, cookies, whatever. There's more than like 100 recipes on the recipe app.
I wish I knew about that when it was COVID and lockdown, and everything I did was like bake and
Yeah.
eat.
Yes. But if you found a passion during, lockdown and you want to continue, I think that's like a great product.
Well, I'll try it once I get some free time from Curious. I'm gonna go back to it.
Yeah.
A lot of people, they say that one thing that they regret is that they weren't adventurous and they did not try out different things, especially when they're young, or like figure out their passion. For you, you did try a lot of things, but if you can go back in time, what are some mistakes that you would ask your younger self to avoid or do differently?
I feel like going back and, let's say, regretting your mistakes is a mistake in itself, because mistakes teach you so much. So I'm very proud and happy of all the mistakes and failures that I made, because they've brought me to where I am today. I almost I think that I was quite adventurous at earlier stages of my career. I think if I had the knowledge that I have now, I would have been even more adventurous. I feel like sometimes people join a great company and then they're like afraid that they won't ever be able to go back to it, or that they'll have to give up certain things, or that change isn't always for a better thing. Sometimes you really end up in a different place than you expected. But I would just say, like, don't be scared to do that. I feel like there's always a way to find your right place, your right balance, career wise, and where you need to be, as long as you don't not make a step because you're afraid. I think that's a mistake. That's a mistake that I would advise not to make.
And even at such a young age, like let's talk about fresh grads or back when you were an intern, sometimes they're very afraid that, maybe I can't find a full-time job, or, I don't want to be out of work. Is it also true that even at this very early age, they have to experiment, not be afraid, and jump from one thing to the other? Or is that something later on?
I think you always have to do it in a smart way. So we should not ignore the fact that people work also for a living. We all have to eat, we all pay, rent, or any living costs that you might have. So I would never say being adventurous doesn't mean, not being smart. So if you want to change, change when you have something in the bag. So, if you've been tired of doing what you've been doing in your current job, try internally to make changes. If you can't, then go externally. But don't give up something secure and safe if you have that need. And if it's, not to the point where, you can't take any more day, because then like your mental health will, have issues because of it. I would say, make the jump when you go from safe to safe. Um, and I think it doesn't matter the age that you're at. You can also not feel safe to make that jump at the beginning, and then you realize, you know, actually, still haven't experimented enough. And sometimes I feel like people might think that just going externally or going to another company is how they will explore and experience other things. But actually, for example, if you do work for a big corporate, there's so much change that you can do internally without necessarily having to give up on that company, on that name, on that culture, if you do find that it's the right fit for you.
I think that's great advice. Like, be adventurous, but be smart. And it's not always very extreme. So, if I want to change, I need to quit and travel. Like you said, something you can also explore your options internally.
Yeah, exactly.
And now, moving on to the next question, which is a little bit about what you are experiencing and working with now. There are a lot of changes, especially with the rise of technology now. So even in the field of product design or product management, a lot of trends keep changing. So what is something that, whether it's someone who's young or someone who's in the middle of their career, what can they do to stay on top of these trends?
So I would say these let's say, changes can be managed in two ways. One is your internal push to learn what the new trends are, to stay on top of the skills and what the world requires. And you do that by doing courses, post-grad masters, trainings. You join conversations, topics, and that's like that needs to come from yourself to no one will ever tell you like, hey, you're missing this on your skill set, or you haven't done that. So you really have to like pay attention and be like, look around you, benchmark yourself with others in the industry and see like, what is my experience lacking compared to others. But then, secondly, the second way of like managing this is your company might be able to offer trainings to, let's say, implement like a cultural change or an upskilling sort of program that you can take advantage of. Um, or if it's not your company pushing for this, but you do see that something new is coming up on the horizon in your role that is really important, I think you shouldn't give up just because the company hasn't, let's say, jumped on it yet. You should try to push for it for yourself. You go to your manager, you propose a certain course, a certain I don't know, part-time master that you really think is valuable for your role for the company, and sometimes they actually really appreciate it and they pay for the courses instead of having to invest personally in this type of training. So I would always, yeah, take this sort of like path, on your own. You benchmark and you find what needs to, let's say, happen on your own education, on your own skill set. And then if the company does it, great. If not, push for it.
So you really have to be very proactive and
I feel you do.
understand. Yeah, yeah. Who you
Yeah.
are, what are you missing, what is it that you want to achieve, and then work for it.
Yeah. But again, I always go back to this because I feel like it's been a guide for my life in general, career wise and not. Like, listen to your feelings, listen to what excites you, what are you curious about, what are you reading on LinkedIn, what articles are you reading, what do you want to know more of? And I feel like that is what's going to take you in the right direction.
Yes, yes. And it's interesting that you mentioned, especially LinkedIn, because we've seen a huge, massive trend of people using LinkedIn not only to network or to apply for a job, but as one of the channels, let's say, for social media or promoting themselves and their business influential figures there. And we saw that you are pretty active on LinkedIn. So, how important do you think it is for fresh grads and for professionals to build their personal brand over there?
So LinkedIn is LinkedIn is a social media. So it's definitely a place that you need to be. LinkedIn for work is the go-to to, let's say, yeah, to showcase your personal brand, to showcase who you are, what is your experience. And it's so easy. Like, some recruitment tools have the integration with LinkedIn that you don't have to go through the pain of creating a CV or copying in manually all your information. So fresh grads, like, first step you want to make even before you actually graduate, I would say start a LinkedIn profile. Start putting in your key achievements from even before graduation. LinkedIn has an algorithm which is really important to learn how it works. You put some keywords in that you want to focus on. For example, like, advice that was given to me while I was still during my doing my master's was, for example, you can write the titles of all the exams that you had during your master's, because those become keywords for the type of jobs, for the type of skill sets that companies look for. So definitely, wherever you are in your career, LinkedIn is super important. And as you said, it is a tool for you to, let's say, passively look for jobs and opportunities, but it's also a space for you to actively contribute to and to participate in. And I think it's super important in today's world to find sort of like your purpose, or what. Oh, actually, I don't like saying that, like finding your purpose, because it's become such a hype. But it's like, what are your values, right? And you just showcase what your values are also on LinkedIn. So, for example, for me, it's super important to share, I don't know, career advice, because it's something that I would have really appreciated if I, yeah, had the chance in my earlier stages of my career, um, share, resources or news about gender equality, about sustainability. It's just things that I'm really interested in, and for sure there's someone out there that is also interested in this.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. There's it's becoming more of a trend, whatever topic it is. It has not a trend, sorry, but a community. So whether it's mentoring or career advice or sustainability, women empowerment, if you go on LinkedIn and they give a voice for everyone. Like you can have a voice there and you can join a community and network and grow with other people who share the same cause. And I want to ask you something a bit more specific now that you mentioned it, because we saw that you were also very passionate and you just mentioned it about women empowerment.
Yeah.
And even though it's 2023, we still want to know and learn more about how can we encourage more women to enter the technical fields.
Yeah. So I feel like my passion started off in as an intern, or as a junior manager in Philips. I really saw that the high levels of the main organizations or multinationals in the world were all men, and there was like something about CEOs called Peter are more than, the any CEO women in the list of the top CEOs in the world, or something like that. And I was like, this is insane. It's 20, it was back then, it was 2015, 2014. And I was like, how is this still possible? Like, where are my role models? Who can I look up to? Um, and even like around me, right? I don't come from a family that has ever been into managerial positions, director positions in around any company. So I didn't even know like dress code, like how do you go dress to the office, or how do you behave yourself in certain situations. And you always had to like look for, well, I always had to look for a mentor, someone that I could ask for this advice among, casual colleagues, or someone that I really sort of respected as a figure. And so I found this like a massive gap, a massive lack of support on this. So I try to actively um, be involved in organizations. So, like for example, in Italy, there was this organization called Young Women Network, where I really partnered up and tried to push more and more young professionals to join it, to create a network, to support each other and to help each other out, because career advancement and progress is also made up of human relationships and network and contacts and people that can, let's say, refer you, or vouch for your skills, or your performance, or you as a person. So it's always super important. I think today we should probably not only be speaking about women empowerment, but gender equality in general, in the workspace, but also like for human rights and lots of other reasons. So I think my sort of passion interest has matured in that sense. I think I would say, like, to young professionals, whatever your issue, challenge, doubts are, go and look for advice from either organized institutions that will be able to help you and support you, because there are so many today, that are able to help. and always find within your company a sponsor. So, and I mean it in the sense of like a human relationship sponsor. So someone who, if asked, will be able to speak highly of you, to you know, guarantee that you are who you say you are on your CV or in your interview or whatever. Um, and that sponsor also motivates you and gives you like power and the energy to push yourself where you wouldn't otherwise, just sitting there on your own with your doubts. You know, sometimes you just need that little like push from behind, from someone who has that outer view, I would say.
That's like, it's really interesting because through this very conversation, I just learned something new personally. Like, I work with you, I work with a lot of mentors, and this is the first time where I think of the word sponsor in the context that you just said. So it's great if you can have a mentor or two or 100, whether they are internal or external, but making sure that you have a sponsor, someone as you described internally who knows you and can vouch for you, that's something new that I haven't thought. And thank you for that.
No
Perhaps we also
problem.
about sponsors, not just, networking and community and mentors.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of experience in that, and you were very proactive. And you said that even at an early stage, you were looking for someone to look up to, and you were looking for advice. And people can find it through people, through sponsors, or even through organizations. Now, for you as Lisa, when you were starting out in your career, do you remember who your mentor or your sponsor was, and how did you benefit?
So I had an amazing sponsor, and this was about 6 months into my first job, and he became my manager, and he really pushed me out of my comfort zone in a way that really helped build my courage, my you know, understanding of the work world. I remember he used to tell me, you know, like if you're coming into a meeting with me, and I would used to, for example, sit in these meetings with like, I don't know, nine older aged men and me as a 25-year-old woman. And I would be, you know, already because of my age and my lack of experience, I would be holding back because I was like, I probably know more, they know more than me. And also then, you know, you're kind of intimidated by all these like men, and you can't find your sort of like partner or, you know, your shoulder to lean on. But he was like very, he was like, that is, forget all about all of that. Don't get into your head. And like, if you're coming into a meeting, you need to show that you're here. Otherwise, what's the point of you coming? Ask questions, raise your voice. You know, no question is stupid. But also, like, he would always say, you know, no decision that you take, even from inexperience, is wrong if you have a reasoning behind it. So as long as you can justify why you made that decision, and that decision wasn't just, you know, made out of thin air, then you shouldn't fear, you know, what you're doing, because it's a learning process. And as long as you can justify your learning decision in that moment, then, you know, no one can tell you that you made a mistake, or it was wrong. Um, so I think that he really forged me early on in my career to not be afraid, to not feel insecure just because you haven't been there, you haven't had that experience, you haven't, you know, or I don't know, you're the only one in the room, right? I feel like that was super important for me.
Yeah, I did something similar. Very recently, I started teaching myself, kind of forcing myself to always ask a question or state an opinion.
Yeah.
Because I used to think like this person is asking a question, like it's common sense. But then it hit me that the more questions people ask, the more vocal they were, the more aware I was of them, even if it was a silly question or a basic question. But now I know that that person exists and has a voice. So now I practice that, and I really sometimes I push myself, like I go like, you know what, I don't have anything valuable to say, but I find a way to just say something. It's always better being silent.
Yes, completely, completely. Because you have to make use of the time, of your time, other people's time, and you're there in that moment. Don't blend in with the walls, right?
Don't blend in with the walls. Oh, this is great. I building on that, we hear a lot of imposter syndrome now. And now that you have been working for, you said like for 10 years now, I want to ask you if you've ever suffered from imposter syndrome and have you ever dealt with it? Because we hear a lot of young people facing that without them even knowing what it is.
So I love TikTok for this reason because it really is able to create communities around certain topics. And I feel like TikTok really makes you realize how like certain thoughts that you think you're the only person in the whole wide world that you're having these. Actually, there's so many people that have been there and have been through that. So imposter syndrome is real. It's something that I have seen in others, and sometimes I've felt myself. But when you realize this, or you're conscious of this pattern, you just have to force yourself to shrug it off, right? And it's like you kind of have to prep talk yourself. So you're like talking to yourself inside your head, but you're like, I'm up for this. I can do this. And even if someone tells you, look, I don't think you're ready for I don't know, the next step in your career, or I don't think you're the right person for this role, then you shouldn't say, oh, you're right, and then give in to that voice inside your head that says, oh, actually, you're not. I told you that you weren't ready for this. But you should actually step up and say, like, why am I not ready for this? What do you think I should improve on? And um not everything that comes out of other people's thoughts are the truth. Sometimes they have like a biased view of you, or of the representation that you give. And so I feel like you should always be your number one fan. And like I hope that like in 10 years we won't be talking about imposter syndrome anymore.
Hopefully. But there might be
Hopefully.
something else that we need to address.
Oh yeah, probably.
And usually, like a lot of the times when people feel they are overpowered, not confident, etc., it's because of two things. Either they haven't failed and learned enough, or whenever they fail, they feel like they're not good enough and that weakens them and their confidence. How did you, first, what are some of your failure stories and how have you dealt with them over the years?
Yeah. I think one of my most recent failure stories that really, really kind of shocked me was I was applying for a marketing talent program in the UK, where there was like a really tough selection of the top marketing talents in the country to be part of this, like, I think it was like a 3 6 month program where you meet with really high ranking marketing individuals from companies from all over. And they would teach you some core lessons like around, I don't know, public speaking or people management. And I really wanted to get into this program. So the first step was you had to create like a video of yourself and explain why you should be chosen. And then you get to the second round where you have an interview with one of the judges. And then you get to the final round where you have like an interview with two judges. And I slowly started to like really believe that I was going to make it. I got to the last round, and that's when I didn't make it. And it just like it fell on me so hard because I was not expecting it. And I really started to doubt myself. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't think I'm as good as I think I am. And I feel like I got into my head so much, and it was really, really tough. But what I did was I opened up about it, about what happened, about why I was disappointed. I spoke to people. I asked, what would you have done differently? How do you see the situation? And actually, one of my ex-colleagues, the she was the HR director at the time where I was working. She told me that I shouldn't see this as a failure, because the fact that I actually got to that final step meant that I really pushed myself outside of a space where I was 100% sure to succeed. And you can't fail if you don't do that. So you should flip it and say, actually, I failed because I successfully managed to step out of where I usually succeed. So I feel like that's how I'm going to view all my failures from here onwards. And yeah, really think about the flip side of it. That's also why I don't see mistakes as, you know, things that you should regret or do differently. Um, but yeah, actually see the positive side of things. I think there was something else. Your question had something else, or
It was about this. So what was failure story and how did you deal with it?
okay,
And
okay.
if I may add, like, it's wonderful and it's great to it's it's really great to have this kind of perspective and this kind of power in order to show yourself what is the right thing and how hard was it and what did I learn. But you also mentioned something very, very valuable. It's not only about perspective and how you consider them and how you learn from them, but it's also something that you mentioned you did, like you went and you asked what could I have done differently or what are the skills that I've been missing, and that's something a lot of people will not do. They were like, okay, I learned from it, but they
I think, yeah, you mentioned the fact that when I felt like a failure, or when I felt that, I'd made a mistake and I'd learned from it, I didn't just sit with myself, but I actually asked and, went to ask people, like, what would you have done, or what could I have improved? What could I have changed in order to be more, let's say, successful, instead of seeing it as a failure. I think there's something that I take from sports, which is always it's so applicable. Lots of, like, the rules that you learn in sports are so applicable to work environment. And one of us was, I used to play football as a kid, and my coach would always used to say, even when you, like, kick to score, to make a goal, follow up your score, like, never just stand there and watch and see, if the ball goes in or not. Like, always run up after it. If you score, great, you're closer to the ball or closer to the net. But if you actually didn't make it in, you're giving yourself a second chance to re-kick the ball, right? And it's kind of like this same concept goes for, like, failures. So, you failed, you didn't score, you didn't make, the objective, the goal that you had. But if you ask, what could I have done better? What should I change next time? What was the, biggest improvement point? If you follow up that attempt, then you're giving yourself a better second chance the, next time that you try, if you try.
You should try. Everybody should try, especially if they're putting all of this effort into learning and then self-improving and being aware of what could have you done differently. Then yeah, it's really an ongoing journey. Even if you, like you said, even if you score, you follow up. Even when you
Yeah,
succeed, continue to grow. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
And is that why you have chosen to mentor young professionals? And what other reasons are there? And why do you think that finding a great mentor is important for the young professional, or actually for anyone, not necessarily for young professionals?
So I personally do it because it just gives me a great feeling. I love, helping people out. And if you can make someone's life easier by giving them advice or um, letting them in, letting them into your learnings so that they can then go faster than how fast you went, why not do it? Why not do it? What's the point of gaining knowledge and keeping it to yourself? Or, I feel great gratitude in helping others in that. Um, I think having a mentor or having someone that you can talk to, that you can trust. Sometimes you need someone who is like independent from the situation you're in for conflict of interest, for several, different reasons, for a diverse perspective, that'll open your eyes to a different world. And I think it really makes a difference. I think people that reach out to mentors, people that reach out for advice, are already a step ahead of people that just think they can do it all themselves. Um, and I think the fact that this is sort of like a natural selection of the process. So if you reach out, if you ask for advice, then you get more information, you get more knowledge, and you progress faster than someone who will only look at their own yard, or who expect someone to come to them and give them that information, that knowledge. And I really do think it makes a difference. It does.
It definitely does. I mean, there's no limit for learning, and the more diverse your courses, and can you guys hear me? I'm breaking a little bit, I know.
Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit. Yeah.
Okay. I have a follow-up question about it. And what did you learn, or what are the benefits as a mentor from mentoring?
Can you repeat that, Rama? Sorry, you broke up and I didn't hear the whole sentence.
Sure. I was asking, like, following up on the mentoring topic, also interested in knowing what are the benefits that as a get from mentoring.
What are the benefits?
What do you learn, what do you gain as a mentor?
Oh, okay. So, good question. I think I get a lot of energy. So I'm a very social person, so I get a lot of energy from mentoring other people, because that human interaction really um, gives back, some thoughts and some knowledge and some ways of looking at things. So I definitely get, energy back from this. Also, it helps, going back to the topic of, like, skill sets are changing, there's lots of trends, how do you stay up to speed? Well, actually, opening up that communication and that channel with maybe people in their earlier careers helps you also understand what are the latest trends, what are people worried about, what are the challenges of younger generations, and how can you help, or what should I expect from the future, once these people are in the workforce, right? So it's I feel like it's a mutual benefit. You give your knowledge, but they give their knowledge and their perspective. And I think that's it's always important to see it like that. So I'm not like a god. I don't know everything, and I'm not I actually feel sometimes I feel like, oh my gosh, that imposter syndrome, right? Why should I be a mentor? Like, who says that I'm giving good advice? Maybe I'm just saying loads of stuff that doesn't make sense. So if at least I see it as okay, I'm here also to learn and also to listen, then it's a more equal relationship.
I think this is what really sets you apart from a lot of our mentors and from a lot of people in general, is that you're also very humble and you're willing to learn. Like, you have such a open mind. You walk into a session and you know that it's a two-way street. It's like a win-win scenario. Everybody learns from everybody, and it's brainstorming and ideating, and as you said, learning, getting the fresh insight from, youngsters. What are the most common or most, the trendiest challenges that people are facing? A lot of experts and senior professionals might take things for granted because they have excelled in their career so much. So having such a mentality really sets you apart from a lot of mentors out there.
Yeah,
So thank
I
you for
think,
that.
yeah, I think maybe, yeah, being closed or thinking that you know it all is probably one of the mistakes that I would regret, actually. So we found one.
There's one. I think this is a mistake that anyone should avoid.
True. Very, very true.
And Lisa, thank you very, very much. Now we are curious to know a little bit about you and what keeps you busy apart from work and mentoring.
Oh gosh. So I have two kids that
Oh,
definitely keep me busy. They are my, let's say, balls of energy. So they give me energy, but they also take loads of my energy. But it's amazing. And yeah, I guess, I mean, I'm like an avid reader, so I love to read anything really. I know people are going to say like, what? How's it possible you're reading this? But I'm reading Spare, the latest book from Prince Harry. Just because, I'm curious, right? I'll go from that to a classic to something more modern, and I guess that's part of being, open-minded and diverse, seeing different perspective, right?
I think it really shows like your hobbies and your personalities, they're aligned, whether it's the
Yes,
career or the personal life, like it's
totally,
inspiring
totally.
to see that you you're still working on upskilling yourself. Parenting is upskilling on a whole other level.
Yes, on British royalty upskilling.
Okay. And this is a fun one. You said that you read a lot of things. How about movies? What is the last show or movie that you watched and that really resonated with you for whatever reason it may be?
Okay, so the latest thing that I've watched on Netflix was a documentary, I believe called The Volcano, I think. And it talks about this like group of expeditions and like a tour guide that took people to a volcano, an active volcano out on the, let's say, in the open ocean in front of New Zealand. And then while they were doing a tour, it exploded. And then all of these like lives were lost and impacted. And it just touched me so much that for like a week, I just kept researching more and more and more and more into it. And it opens up your eyes on, I think, how tourism and traveling and seeing the world is, it has such a positive reputation when you tell someone, but on the other side, it's become such a business driven, let's say, money making industry that yeah, it puts people into harm, without any necessary need for it. And I just feel like we should all, maybe be more choiceful of the types of trips and travels that we make. Um, but it's definitely a touching story, and I recommend to anyone to go watch it because it stuck with me for so many days after I saw it. Still there? Oh, I think we lost Rama.
Hey, yeah, I think we lost her. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, so I just had just one question from you. Uh, so obviously you've worked in the field of product management for quite some time now. So uh, if somebody were, starting to get into the field or just starting out, what are the key specific things that they would have to keep in mind to, actually get into the field, you know?
So I feel like a lot of people think that to get into the product management field, you have to have massive technical or technological skills, which is, like either using certain programs or having worked in this field. But actually, I think what makes a successful product manager is the ability to put themselves in the consumers, in the users' shoes, and really bring that perspective, because in the end that is the objective. It's to make products that are consumer user friendly, that people love, that are simple. And it's, I would say, like, maybe try yourself out as a user of software, of hardware, of whatever type of product you're looking to going into, and really bring it along with you. Don't forget that that's the ultimate goal of what you're doing. Oh, I can't hear you.
Are there any book suggestions, or are there any courses that you would suggest young people to, read or start out? Maybe in design thinking, maybe,
um yeah, there's lots of books. I have not personally read them though, so I'm not sure if I would recommend them, but there are, I think there's one called like Slow and Fast
yeah,
Thinking.
um,
Um,
yeah,
yeah, there's one about always having a startup mentality, even if you're working like on a big, huge company business.
right.
So never forgetting that sort of like entrepreneurial drive. Oh, I don't remember the title. Oh, you could like just Google, best books if you want to go into the tech industry. But I would try to carve out your own personal, let's say, not space, or your own personal self. So take what you want from these books, but also what do you bring unique to the table
Right.
that books can't teach you, that others won't be able to give? Like, why are you a unique product manager versus someone else? And I think that's how you'll most likely be chosen and be retained as a talent.
Right. That's awesome. Awesome. So Lisa, it was lovely talking to you. The conversation was fascinating. I learned a lot. Uh, it was great to be a part of this. I think Rama has joined us again.
Yes.
Yep, I'm back. Sorry about that.
Yeah, Rama, if you have any other questions, you can continue.
I am done from my end, but if you have anything that you would like to share, anything you want to tell your followers, please feel free to do that.
I think I've shared a lot today, so
Yes,
I
you did.
wouldn't have. Yeah, I don't think I have anything else to add. Yeah, I just hope whatever we said today can help someone. Yeah.
I'm sure there's a lot of valuable content, even like between the lines. When people hear this, read this, I really hope that they completely understand everything and have a very open perspective, just like you. So thank you very much, Lisa. Grazie
No
mille.
problem. Thank you. Prego.